Ever wondered why some movies grab you from the very first second? Today we're diving into in medias res, the technique that starts in the thick of things. But here's the twist. What if your favorite movies had used it? In medias res is a Latin phrase that literally means in the middle of things. In storytelling, it's when a film or a story starts right in the middle of the action, skipping over the build-up and exposition. It's used to instantly grab the audience's attention, throwing them into an exciting, tense, or intriguing moment. You're left to figure things out as the story unfolds around you. No setup, just action. This is one of my favorite examples of the concept. The Dark Knight throws the viewer right into the thick of it with a high-stakes bank robbery. There's no character introductions, no backstory, no explanation whatsoever, just pure action right from the get-go. You're instantly hooked, trying to figure out what's going to happen as it's happening. It's pure excitement. Who are these guys? Why are they doing this? What's going to happen next? It's not until much later that you get any real context, but by then, you're already invested. Another famous example of this concept is in Saving Private Ryan. The scene opens with a landing craft full of American soldiers approaching Omaha Beach. But wait, doesn't Saving Private Ryan technically start at the end of the story? At the Normandy American Cemetery? Well, that's a great point, so maybe I should clarify that. It is true that Saving Private Ryan starts at the technical end of the story at the Normandy American Cemetery, but I would treat that as a sort of prologue, epilogue type scene. And not the true beginning of the movie, which I would say is when they storm the beach, which certainly is in medias res. And even then I would still argue that you could consider that opening at the cemetery to be in medias res, albeit it would be kind of like an in medias fini res opening. As you can see, I'm now just making stuff up. But that's because we're not given any exposition for what's going on. I mean, you can obviously kind of intuit it yourself almost immediately, but nonetheless, we are still thrown right into an extremely emotional scene. Anyways, back to the beach. You can tell the soldiers are terrified and bracing for all hell to break loose. When the ramp lowers, it's pure carnage as machine gun fire and artillery mows down soldiers before they even get a chance to get off the boat. We're placed directly in the middle of the action with zero setup or explanation. But what if some of your favorite movies didn't take their time setting things up? What if they jumped right into the action? And conversely, what if these movies that did start in medias res actually started at the beginning? But before we get to that, you might be a little confused. Couldn't you technically say that every movie kind of starts in the middle of things? Isn't wherever a movie starts also going to be technically in the middle of whatever's going on? Because you can always presuppose that there were things that had to have happened before the opening scene starts. Well, that's a good question. I would say the fundamental difference that makes a movie start in medias res is that the movie is generally characterized by literally throwing the viewer right into the middle of things, foregoing all exposition. There's no establishment of characters, location, themes, etc., instead opting to deal with these things later and capitalize on getting the viewer's attention immediately. For example, with The Dark Knight, the opening bank robbery beginning could be converted to a non-in medias res opening if it instead started with the Joker and his accomplices planning out the robbery before it happens. And with Saving Private Ryan, it would become a non-in medias res opening if the movie instead started with the soldiers preparing for battle. These things would allow the viewer to understand who the characters are, what's going on, and what's at stake before throwing the viewer into the action. The Godfather opens with a beautiful, serene wedding scene, introducing us to the Corleone family and their world. We're slowly drawn into the politics and dynamics of the family, setting the stage for what's to come. But imagine if it started here. Suddenly we're right in the middle of an intense assassination when Michael Corleone assassinates Sollozzo and McCluskey. Suddenly the stakes are high and the mystery of the Corleone family is thrust into chaos from the get-go. This in medias res approach would completely transform the movie, making it a high-octane thriller right from the start. Now let's see what that would look like side by side. It's almost a completely different movie. The Godfather thrives on its slow, deliberate pace and is precisely what makes the movie so good. If it began in medias res with the assassination of Sollozzo and McCluskey, it would completely change the film at its core. the carefully crafted tension and character development would be overshadowed by action, and Michael's transformation would feel rushed. Starting with action might be thrilling, but it would undermine the depth and complexity that makes The Godfather one of the greatest films of all time. The Social Network opens with a conversation between Mark Zuckerberg and his girlfriend in a bar. The scene is mostly dialogue and sets up Mark's character traits, his ambition, arrogance, and insecurities. We can tell that he's a genius, and this slow but revealing interaction introduces the personal motivations that drive the creation of Facebook. The movie gradually shifts to the development of the social network and the subsequent lawsuits, using flashbacks to move between time periods. But now imagine the social network started here, with the chaotic moment when Andrew Garfield's character confronts Zuckerberg in a fury at the Facebook offices, smashing his laptop in a rage after learning that his shares in the company have been diluted. The scene is climactic and the sense of betrayal is intense. If it had started here, we'd be instantly thrown into this chaos of emotion and betrayal, with no context as to why Eduardo is so angry, what Mark did, or how the company dynamics reached this breaking point. Now let's see those side by side. Starting the movie here would dramatically alter its pacing and tension. The viewer would be immediately thrown into the chaotic fallout of a burned relationship, left wondering how things escalated to this point. It would almost be like a different movie. Instead of a slow burn character study that explains Mark Zuckerberg's motivations and ambitions early on, the emotional side and the business drama of the movie would take center stage, and the viewer would probably have to piece together the story through flashbacks or some other mechanism to learn about the rise of Facebook and the deterioration of the partnership. However, the reason The Social Network is such a good movie is exactly because of that slow burn character study of Mark Zuckerberg's cold-blooded, calculated genius, and is what makes Andrew Garfield's outburst so much more intense. So now we've seen just how impactful the beginning of a movie is, witnessing how it can literally change the complete feel and genre of a film and what the viewer is to expect. But now, what if a movie that started in medias res instead did the opposite? Let's take a look. Saving Private Ryan is known for its brutal opening, dropping us right into the chaos of the Normandy beach assault. The intensity grabs you immediately, putting you in the shoes of the soldiers fighting for their lives. But what if it began like this? Suddenly we have a slower build, focusing on the soldiers' camaraderie and the preparations for battle. While this setup provides character depth, it sacrifices the immediate urgency and the shock of the actual landing. The emotional impact would shift dramatically, making it feel less like a war epic and more like a standard drama. Let's take a look at those side by side. Starting with exposition and the preparation for the battle would significantly alter the film's emotional impact. The terrifying, chaotic nature of the opening on the beach would be diluted. By seeing the soldiers preparing beforehand, the audience would have time to emotionally brace themselves, making the eventual battle less shocking. The unrelenting intensity and immersiveness of the Omaha beach scene would lose some of its raw, visceral intensity, transforming the opening into a more standard war film introduction, making Saving Private Ryan completely lose the essence that makes it one of the greatest war films of all time. The Dark Knight opens with an unforgettable bank heist. We're thrown right into the middle of the action. No explanation, no backstory, just pure adrenaline as masked robbers carry out their plan. We don't even know who they are or what's at stake. It's chaotic, it's intense, and it grabs your attention immediately. But what if The Dark Knight didn't start like this? What if it began with a slower, more traditional opening? Now imagine instead we start here. Bruce Wayne at a fundraiser for Gotham's new district attorney Harvey Dent. This is a much more relaxed introduction. We're focused on dialogue, getting to know the characters, and the political dynamics of Gotham City. It's slower, giving us the chance to understand the stakes, but it lacks the immediate tension of the bank heist. Let's take a look at those side by side. If The Dark Knight had opened like this, we would have gotten more time to absorb the world, the relationships, and the context before jumping into the action. But we'd miss out on the sheer shock and intensity of the bank robbery. The tone would be much more deliberate, setting up Gotham's crime-ridden world at a slower pace. Instead, with the in medias res opening, we're immediately hooked. Questions flood our minds. Who are these people? What's going on? And that curiosity keeps us glued to the screen. It's a perfect example of how an in medias res creates intrigue and energy. So we've seen how starting a movie in medias res can create immediate excitement and engagement, like in The Dark Knight or Saving Private Ryan. But we've also explored how some films like The Godfather choose to build slower, developing characters and context before diving into the action. Both approaches offer unique ways to tell a story, each affecting the tone, pacing, and emotional impact. What's fascinating is that neither approach is really better. It's about what serves the story. Some films need that rush of adrenaline to hook us from the very start, while others invite us to take our time, savoring the build-up. The magic of cinema lies in how these different techniques create completely different experiences, even with similar plots. Now I want to hear from you. What are your favorite in medias res openings, and which movie do you think could benefit from starting right in the middle of the action? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe for more breakdowns of storytelling techniques. Stay tuned because I have a few good videos coming out soon. The next one is going to be a video on A24, the rise and fall of the giant production company. I'm Jack. Thanks for watching. Peace out. I'll see you in the next one.